Podsters, it's last call. No one likes to hear last call, and I certainly don't want to be the one that's telling you it's like your last chance, but it is. I am offering my early bird pricing for the 2.5-day Do the Thing retreat happening on Cape Cod. Early bird pricing ends 2 days after you're hearing this. You should already know what the retreat is. If you don't, I'm going to tell you really quickly. This is 2.5 days for you to step out of your life and for you to focus on you. And to focus on you doing the thing, that one thing, the thing that you know that you are meant to do, the thing that weighs heavily on you every day, the thing that you know that if you could just do this one thing, it would completely change your life. It will, I know, because I did the thing. 2.5 days in the seaside town of Truro, Cape Cod. I rented a private beach house. There's going to be 8 other women, private chef, daily yoga, outdoor hikes, and more importantly, 2.5 days of semi-private group coaching with me. Workshops, tools, tactics, playbooks. You will walk out of this retreat having the entire plan for how you are going to do the thing, the tactical plan. So think about it. You'll leave in mid-October with the plan so that come Thanksgiving, when everybody's making their New Year's resolutions, you're done. You get to actually enjoy the holidays because you already did the thing. Click the link in the show notes, fill out the form. We'll get on the phone. I want to make sure this is a good fit for you. I want to make sure that this is going to work for you. We'll talk. And if it works, we'll sign you up. Go do it. Go get them. Do the thing. Hey, Podsters. It's Nancy Medoff and Beth Knaus, here to change the conversation around women in confidence with actionable tools, real life stories, humor, kindness, and the occasional shenanigans.
We are fired up. We are calling things as we see them, and we are not holding back. We have a bullshit button, and we're not afraid to use it.
We have used it in the past. I'm Nancy Medoff, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author who literally wrote the book on women in confidence.
I'm Beth Knaus, creative copywriter, personal messaging consultant who helps business owners use their unique voice to bring in more ideal clients.
So here's what's up. If you're done playing it safe, you're tired of your own narrative, and you're ready to step into your authenticity, you're in the right place.
If you're looking for a weekly shot of confidence and the occasional truth bomb, you're also in the right place. So buckle up, friends.
And get ready to feel empowered and inspired as together we build our confidence toolkit and empower women everywhere to speak up and get their seat at the table, and then build a bigger table. All right, spoiler alert, we are both pretty activated and have already covered a couple of things, and I hit record. So,
oh yeah, giddy up.
So the first thing was the end of August. Yeah, I was like, I'm feeling really out of sorts. And then I remembered last year this happened. Remember, the end of August was not good.
Yeah.
And I don't even have kids. So why do you think that? And you agreed. So why do you think that is?
So I think there's two things. So first of all, my husband is a teacher and he went back to school this week. So even though some of us are focused on Labor Day and not really looking at September until the 5th, like I have that, not even tension, but just that energy in my house of like back to school already. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying to people, the summer doesn't end till September 22nd, right? September 22nd is the last day of summer. Let's not get carried away here, folks. You can still go to the beach. But I think it's the energy around us. The weather's changing already.
But I love the change in the weather.
I do too. But I think, our bodies physiologically know that the season's going to change, right? We're going into like hunker down mode being here in Massachusetts and the fall and everything, but we're going into like cozy weather, right?
Right. Which I love. Oh, that brings me to, okay, what kind of weather is it, Beth? Beth?
Sweata weather.
It's sweater weather. Okay. So we have many people from outside the U.S., casual. How many countries are we in? 42, I think. And we have even more people listening from outside the U.S. I was just at a conference speaking, and I met women from Dubai, from Rome, from Paris, from London. So all our global people are listening. So how would you explain sweater weather?
Oh, sweater weather is like, it's crisp. It's not so cold that it makes you shiver. It's refreshing. I don't know, it's magical. There's all these beautiful leaf colors. The leaves are starting to fall and they all fall at different times depending on the tree. And when you go outside, you just need to throw on a sweater. Right. Maybe it's time for boots with your sweater.
So for those of you who are like, what is even happening over there? So in New England, with the change of seasons from summer to fall, it happens legit overnight. Legit. Like you wake up one morning, usually in August, and you're like, okay, it's here. And because we don't always finish our R's here in New England, we call it sweater weather, where you wear your sweaters. And it became famous on Saturday Night Live. So I'm going to do a solid for our Podsters. I'm going to put a link to sweater weather skit. Nice. Show notes.
Enjoy, folks. Enjoy.
It's hilarious. And let us know if you think it's funny. I mean, it might be the kind of thing where like, they might be like, I'm trying to picture my friend from Dubai being like, why is this funny? I don't understand how this is funny. Yeah. So it might be a cultural thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it covers many things and then we can obviously move on. But like, as soon as that weather kicks in, I'm like, ooh, I want some chili, make some meatballs and sausage and
football
for those who are more sports excited.
Oh, so one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Make a turkey on a Sunday. I don't even watch the game half the time. I'm making the turkey. There's people around. Oh, I love fall. It's my favorite season. Is it your favorite season?
It's a very casual season.
Yeah. Preach, my friend. Preach. So all of this is a long-about way to say, Podsters, we're back. And when I say we're back, I mean we are back. We are both super pumped about this topic. A couple of things. One, I want to make sure everybody knows, and here's our sincere thank you, that we're in the top 5% podcasts globally, top 5%. And we would not be there without our Podsters sharing, commenting, leaving reviews. So thanks, everyone.
Nancy, do you think that has to do with today's topic?
It might. Why don't you go ahead? Tee it up, Beth.
All right. Our topic today, I have to say, Nancy came up with this topic. And when she first said it, I was like, And I'll tell you why in a moment. But our topic today is charisma. And
I just felt like I needed to do that.
Yeah. And when she first said it to me, the first thing I thought of was like Cary Grant, Don Draper. I thought of like celebrities.
Interesting.
And that to me made me think, is that superficial?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first thing. But then I heard a really great podcast about it. And I went online and did a little bit of research. And it turns out that charisma is part personality, but it's also part skill. So for people who think that and Nancy may totally disagree with me, but people who
have a smile on my face,
skills you can adapt to that can get you a little closer to charisma if you feel like you don't have it.
Agreed.
You know what charisma is, Nancy? It's a power skill.
If you are scratching your head thinking about what a power skill is, go back a few episodes. And as a matter of fact, we'll link it in the show notes to our session or our recording on power skills. And we're not using the term soft skills anymore. Yeah. Great job. Good job there, Beth. Good job.
Woo!
So, yeah. So I love the topic of charisma. It's so funny because I don't think about celebrities at all. That's so funny. And I think that in doing the research and in talking about it, I'm gonna reserve my judgment on whether or not you can build your skills around charisma. I think you can become a better public speaker. I think you can become more approachable. I don't know. And I'll tell you why, because when I was doing some research, I was looking at how to build charisma or how to be more charismatic. And to me, it was simply good communication. However, let's just run with it. Let's run with it. So in your words, not the definition, what do you think charisma is?
So I think you just used a really good word. It was approachable, but I think it's like Snow White and the animals in the forest. Like, oh no, that you are kind, that you are trustworthy, that you have great things to say because you're knowledgeable. I think you physically show that you have charisma. I think that, it could be in your smile. If your smile is authentic, my favorite word. And I think a lot of charisma stuff to me comes like, is it authentic? And it's truly charismatic. So I think it's like when you're there, when you show up, people stop and listen. People want to get closer to you. People respect you. Yep. I think it's an organic kind of thing, right? I bet different people would give different definitions. Your turn.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of those. And I have a lot of questions, but I'll save those. I don't think you necessarily have to be good looking. And also I think you need to look presentable. I think you need to look like you care about your appearance. I think that's important. There's a lot of controversy over whether or not people need to be good looking. I do think smiling, yes. Do I think you have to be kind to be charismatic? I think most people who are charismatic are kind, are trustworthy, are knowledgeable, and are authentic. Yes. I also think there are very dark people who are charismatic. And there's actually a term for it. It's called dark charisma. So some of the most horrible people in the history of the world were very charismatic. That's how they got people to do what they wanted them to do. So maybe they were authentic. Yeah, they were authentic because they were their authentic, true, evil selves. And I think about some politicians who are charismatic. Are they authentic? I don't know about that, right? So I agree. I think it's part skill, part personality. I do. For me, charisma is a big personality. That's what it means to me. That's a really simple way of putting it. And it's not always easy, and it's not always a good thing. What do you think about that?
I agree. And it's so funny. I went to celebrities and you went to Hitler.
I didn't say Hitler.
I know. Come on. That's what we all thought at the moment. But the interesting thing, what I didn't say was you can, like, one of the things I wrote down was like a cult leader.
I was just going to say, yes. Yep.
People start cults. Yeah, I think there's a lot of leaders of large groups that pull people in with their so-called charisma. Mm-hmm. But I think that's premeditated. I think dark charisma is premeditated.
Totally agree. And I think that's a skill. I think they build that skill when you think about the cult leaders and the bad people, the dark charisma. Right. The dark charisma, I think, needs to be practiced and it's a skill.
Yes.
The true charisma, again, I think you can become a better speaker and you can connect with people better. And that might lead to more charisma. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say a little bit about what I heard, and then you can share some things that you heard about charisma. As you can see, folks, it's all over the place. And I actually have a surprise tidbit for Nancy. I think she's going to like it. So the word charisma originates from a Greek word that's charis or charis, Chris, which means grace.
No, you did not go there.
I did.
So grace is one of our favorite words here over at Unmute Yourself, the podcast. Interesting.
Yeah. It actually also meant, it evolved to mean favor or gift and had religious connotations at one point. If you were favored by the Holy Spirit, could be given in Christianity. Given a gift. So that makes total sense. So that made me think of social grace. right? I think social grace is something that I don't know if you can learn that. And you can tell me if you feel differently, but I read and learned that there's two parts to charisma, right? There's a middle point, and warmth and competence. Warmth and competence. And what happens is if you're someone who's warm and you go to the extreme, it's because you're more concerned with being liked. And if you are someone who's competent and you go to the extreme, you're someone who thinks it's most important to be right. And so when somebody needs to be right all the time, they tend to express less warmth. And so nobody likes a know-it-all, right? But for them, oftentimes it's somebody who's high level and is more of an engineer, technical type of thinker, and they want to deal with facts and data so they can be right. Whereas someone who's warm and really wants to be liked is giving off much more of an emotional, touchy-feely persona. And people say, oh, you're a sweet thing, but you may not know. I can't necessarily trust your knowledge. What do you think?
I love all of that. I think I want to make sure people understand you said competence with a P. Competence. Competence. Yes. Yeah. So I agree. And I think in order to be warm and competent, you need confidence. So I don't know, I would struggle to find any charismatic person who is not confident in that whatever's happening at the moment. I don't think you can be charismatic without being confident. And this is just coming to me. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. So here's one of those things, right? We talk about how does somebody become more confident. So if confidence is a part of charisma and you can improve your confidence, then you can get closer to that charismatic image that you might want or need.
Yeah. And this is unrolling as we're talking. So I think about when I'm on stage, and when I'm on stage, I have to have some charisma. I mean, I have to bring, it's energy, it's warmth, it's vulnerability, it's approachability, and I have to have knowledge. And if I don't have the knowledge, so I do like a handful of talks and programs. When I'm developing a new one, the first few times I do them, they're fantastic, of course, but I don't have as much charisma because I'm not as confident. I mean, I'm confident that I know what I'm talking about. I'm confident that I can work through anything that comes up, but I'm not like, oh, this is my 300th time doing my Unmute Yourself keynote. I could do this in my sleep. And I think that there's probably more charisma with the topics that I'm used to because I'm a little more confident. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to bring me to my next thing so the podcast I listened to was Mel Robbins, and the woman she had on, her name is Vanessa Van Edwards. And so she was talking about how introverts can be a little bit more charismatic. And oftentimes it's not in the social grace, right? Or the conversation or the communication piece. So it can be in your body language, like saying that people like to see your hands. Otherwise, especially on Zoom, like if people can't see your hands, they're like, what is that person doing? What are they holding? Where are their hands? Why can't we see their hands? And that you don't want to be too close to the camera, like in someone's face, that it's like invading their space. So you want to be back, I don't know, I think she said like 1.5 feet. And then there was the part about, think about what you're going into. Some of us, you could get up on stage, Nancy, in front of thousands of people and probably be fine, right? Maybe for me, I'd like to get up in front of 200. And that's my sweet spot where I can relax. I can feel comfortable. It's the same thing with networking. I love to network. I love to meet people. I never meet all the people in the room I want to meet. But if I go to the Chamber of Commerce, I'm less likely to feel as comfortable there. So it's harder for me. And it becomes a little more, I don't want to say awkward. I tend to not feel awkward at things, but the term that this woman used was crunchy. like just not smooth. And, when you're in your environment, that's your prime environment for exuding charisma, you're smooth, right? So, okay, you go.
I love it. I love it all. So, all right. So we'll come back to there's one more thing I want to talk about, but let's talk about this. So how you can work on your charisma, especially if you're an introvert. I like what she said, because the more comfortable you are in the environment, the more confident you're going to be. So the takeaway there, a specific tactical thing to do is, if you are in a situation where you would like to exude charisma, try to make it as comfortable for yourself as possible. So, like for me, that's if a client asks me to do a keynote in the afternoon, I'll always try to do it in the morning. I am much better in the morning. I mean, I'll do it in the afternoon, but I'm much better in the morning. And I know that if it's a virtual, I will make sure I have plenty of time ahead of time. I'll make sure all my doors are closed. My sound is working. It's all the things, like when you're networking, I'm sure that you make sure you have everything you need. You make sure that, you have your breath mints or your note cards or your business cards, if people still use those, or whatever the case may be. So, it really comes down to curating an environment where you can be your best. And it's the times when I don't do that I find that I have the least charisma, for lack of a better term.
Yes. Yes.
The other thing that I think is really, and I think we need to do a podcast episode on this, is vulnerability.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that comes with, first of all, we're both very passionate about it. That comes with authenticity. That comes with confidence. And the more vulnerable you are, truly vulnerable, because we've all seen people fake it, the more connection you will have with people. And the more you connect, the more charismatic those interactions become, or the more they trust you and gravitate towards you and feel your warmth and feel that you're legit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can relate to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for me, it really comes down to good communication. Although you can be a good communicator and not be charismatic. I mean, there's a lot of them out there.
True.
Yeah.
So I think I like this topic because it is like that fine line thing, like how you balance all the pieces and, talk about it so people understand. So because my reaction right away went to celebrity, and we just talked about leaders and dark charisma, I just wanted people to know that other words that they might hear that mean charisma, like allure, captivation, or somebody being captivating, somebody being magnetic, right? Having magnetism. And the one I liked was pizzazz.
So I love that. Pizzazz. She did her jazz hands, everyone. And also, so that's a great segue. Let's talk about what I call quiet charisma, because many times people think you need to be the loudest and biggest in terms of personality person in the room. And I know I just said big personality because that's what it means to me, that, but there is quiet charisma. There are many, many people who are charismatic and don't necessarily have to be the center of attention and aren't necessarily shaking all the hands and kissing all the babies. So what do you think about this term I made up called quiet charisma?
I agree, because I actually wrote down before you said the term big personality, and I thought, but that doesn't necessarily mean loud, right?
Right.
So I think some of it has to do with not necessarily the good looking piece, right? But I think for us, when we talk about is someone good looking or well dressed, we're talking about being intentional with your appearance. Because I think automatically, and again, this is judgment, but if we see somebody who's not well groomed, or, their hair is a mess, or their clothes don't match, or they don't know what colors are best on them, if they didn't invest on how they showed up, how are they going to invest in what you need from them?
Totally.
So it is tricky. And I think that, like, we know this, I am not a dress wearer. And I am wearing a dress to my daughter's wedding. I did get shoes. I have the undergarments. I'm ready to go.
All right. It's on, people. It's on. Yep.
I digress. I think you need to, this is part of your branding, right? So I like to wear jeans. But I'm a writer. I feel like I'm a creative. I can get away with that sort of thing. And I'm not looking like I pulled jeans out of my son's dirty laundry basket. I mean, I always have good jewelry. I just want to look creative and kind of, organic and funky. I don't want to look like everybody else. All right. What do you think?
So I was trying to think of people who I think have quiet charisma. I think Bill Clinton is a good example. Like him or not, the guy had charisma. He did. He did. I met him in person once, I remember.
Oh.
Yeah. And he was magnetic. That's the only way I can describe it. I don't think he's particularly good looking. I don't necessarily think he's particularly authentic. I don't know. Perhaps he is. But I remember I'm like, wow, like it was bizarre to me. It was like what just happened? It was interesting.
Right. Well, I think somebody like that, right, is fortunate enough to have like a stylist who knows how to bring out their best features. And then that person becomes attractive, right? There's so many people who are attractive that you might not say were naturally beautiful or good looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great point.
Know how to pull it together, right? And that's confidence. So I think it's a quiet confidence that goes along with that quiet charisma.
Love it. I also think about like some CEOs, like I'm trying to think about in my own, like Bill Marriott, charismatic. Arnie Sorensen, who was the former CEO of Marriott. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Very quiet, very charismatic, very charismatic. And it was the way he carried himself. It was the confidence. Because I'm going to tell a story. So as you were talking about the dresses, I was thinking, I will never forget. I was at a client event years ago with Marriott, and Arnie Sorensen was the CEO. And he walked on stage. This is our top clients, probably 500 of them. He walked on stage in jeans and a shirt and a cup of Starbucks. And I remember thinking to myself, wow. And he nailed it, of course. And then I remember thinking to myself, if Arnie can do that, I can do that. And because again, we're talking about clothes and how you present yourself. So when you were talking about the dress, I think what you were saying was you don't have to wear it. You don't have to be dressed up. You don't have to be dressed up. You have to be presentable. So Arnie was in jeans, casual, but looked great. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to be my true self. He was authentic. He was authentic because it was a Saturday, I think. He wouldn't do that if he was speaking in front of Wall Street or if he was on Squawk Box, but this was a weekend. It was in a resort and he's like, well, I'm going to wear jeans. So I remember that stayed with me, and that was about authenticity, and you don't have to fake it. You don't have to put on the suit or the dress or whatever. If it's acceptable, just be you and be comfortable. That was the thing, is that he was comfortable. I went down a little rabbit hole there. I did.
No, but that's how he felt. I guess maybe you can also feel when you're in that charismatic place, right? Like, we've talked about this many times. Like, what's your alter ego? Mm-hmm. How does that person act? How do they dress? How are they perceived?
Mm-hmm. For sure. So before we end, I want to make sure that we talk about a cautionary tale for people who are charismatic. It's not always necessary. It's usually a good thing, but people you run the risk of bulldozing people. Like if you can get people to quickly and easily come along with what you're saying, they might not speak up. And we don't ever want to tamp somebody's ability to speak up. They might agree with you because they want you to like them. So for those of you who are charismatic, and you know who you are, I mean, if you have it, if you just know. So I would say, to be careful with that. And that small comments can have a big impact. You influence people more than you might think you do. So you got to be really careful. It's a burden. It could be a burden. What do you think?
Yeah. You
can disagree with me.
Can you say a little more about that?
So if there's this special magnetic charm or appeal, that was a definition that you shared, and you have that it factor or that charisma, that's not always a good thing. So people might not tell you their true feelings because they want you to like them and they want you to take them along with you. They might, you might bulldoze over someone and not know it because you're being persuasive and you're just kind of going with it. I think it can be a cross to bear. So, and your comments might have a big impact. So if you're charismatic, somebody's magnetized, you're appealing to them, you could say something like, I wish I had the nerve to wear a skirt like that, or something like, I don't know, whatever. And that could crush someone. Like you can really hurt someone without knowing that you're doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. A little more clear.
I agree. Yeah. Again, we're talking about all different types of people, right? So introverts. I mean, if I would guess that if you are a naturally charismatic person, you are an extrovert. In most cases. I don't know if you disagree, unless you're a quiet, charismatic person. But generally, I think of people like you and me. So, and I'm not saying other people aren't like that. I'm just saying I think the majority is that way. We tend not to think about how other people are going to perceive it because we think, well, this is natural for me. Like, isn't this natural for everybody?
Right.
You're right. So part of that, as somebody who's got that bigger charismatic personality, you really have to pause. I mean, a pause is good here. I'm going to say a couple things. Pause is good because you want to observe for a second, just kind of mentally step back and observe the other person's body language or voice level or things like that are going to tell you how they feel inside, right? That we read so much if we just pay attention for 30 seconds to other people. And I said pause because on the flip side, this is kind of like a call to action as well. I also heard in that podcast that, a lot of the times we're excited to start and we get going and we take a breath and then we talk really fast and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sometimes it's okay to pause and breathe. If you feel yourself, right? If you feel your heart beating and you feel that like you're this person speaking, you get to pause for 10 minutes if you want. Put people in a state of meditation. So you're in control. So you pause. So I think that's that's key.
I love it. We talked about that last week in a little bit of a different environment. We talked about the strategic pause as you're recovering and for your resiliency, but I totally agree. So let's talk about 3 things one can do to become more charismatic. Can I go first?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The first one is you need to put yourself out there. You can't be charismatic playing it safe or sitting on the couch. I'm not saying you need to go speak in front of a room of 10,000 people, but you need to put yourself out there. Write the book, get on stage, raise your hand, ask the question, speak up at the grocery store, whatever it is, you have to actually take some kind of action.
Yeah. Compliment somebody, right? If you feel it's warranted in your view, compliment somebody. It's a great way to start conversation. Right?
Okay. You want to go with 2?
Yes. So back to the whole breathing thing. One of the things, and we've talked about this, is that you don't really want to end your sentence in a question. You don't want to have voice inflection because it shows that you're questioning and you're unsure and you're giving the choice, result, outcome power to the person you're speaking to. And that's not charismatic.
That's called uptalk.
Uptalk, yes. Uptalk. And another one of my favorites is vocal fry.
Vocal fry? Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll do that on a future episode. We got like 4 new episodes coming. So I agree. And I think that impacts your confidence. So I would add smiling and being vulnerable. And I'm not saying putting yourself out there is being vulnerable, but also as you're putting yourself out there, taking a risk that really kind of exposes you or exposes something that you're not comfortable with. Again, I guarantee you people will relate to it, and that will in turn increase your charisma.
Yeah.
Cool. What else you got? Oh, this was it. I didn't even say this out loud. I want to debunk this introvert versus extrovert, because I have to tell you, I'm confused. I know the definition. I know what I've been diagnosed as. And I also know that it doesn't, no, because I'm an extrovert, but there's nothing, I could go 48 hours, I could go 2 weeks and not talk to another person and I would be fine. So am I an extrovert? Am I an extroverted introvert? Like, I think we need to debunk this whole thing.
Right. And what's an ambivert? I feel like I should know. Is that someone who's in the middle?
Both. That's like, come on, that's pick a lane is what that
Well, to be honest, I think everybody has moments of both. It's just a matter of what your majority is. So I think if you're highly introverted, you're a sensitive person. And I don't mean sensitive like you're whining or anything. I mean sensitive like the level of sound. Too much of that makes you retreat, right? Or too many people in a crowd or in a discussion or the energy, and it's not that you can't handle those things. You can handle them, but there's a window of time and then you have to retreat.
Totes agree. We got some really rocking guest speakers coming up. So stay tuned, Podsters.
Absolutely.
So the point was, fall is very busy and we want to make sure that we make it worth your time, Podsters. So email us, tag us on social, DM us, send a smoke signal, whatever you want to hear more about, we will talk about it.
Yes, we will.
We will. Before we go, I have extended my early bird pricing and for the retreat. I know, shocking. So that's going to end September, I think, 8th. And this will be aired before then. So if you have been thinking about the Do the Thing retreat, fill out the survey /application. We'll get on the phone. I want to make sure that it's a very good ROI for everyone's time, money, resources, everything. Do that, but do it before September 8th because prices go up after that. How's your networking going?
My networking is going really great. My new website is going really great.
Whoop, whoop. Okay, cool. All right, great. So I think that's all we have for today, Podsters. Is that it, Beth?
That is it, Nance.
A good one. I'm going to get a sweater.
All right, put your sweater on.
Because it's sweater weather. Peace out. And that's a wrap. Podsters, we know that you found value in this episode, even if it was one little nugget. And we thank you for listening. So if you found value,
please share it with a friend or two or many if you'd like. And send us some feedback about the topics that you want to hear about, episodes that resonated with you, anything. We love to be connected to our Podsters.
We love it more than anything. Peace out. Hit that follow button. See you next week.